The first time I encountered Norm was when he did stand-up on our late night show really early on. Do you remember how that happened?
Yes, I do. It was a month after we started. It was October of 93, and a guest dropped out, as it would happen back then.
Oh yeah, people were back in October of 93. We had been on the air a month. Believe it or not, it wasn't going well, ladies and gentlemen. No one thought we would last 28 minutes, let alone 28 years. But
they were dropping like flies.
Oh, but guests were dropping out at the last second constantly, and so someone dropped out. And what'd you do?
So I had worked with Norm a year earlier on the Dennis Miller Show, which didn't last very long. But he, was the funny. Anybody who had met him, even for a minute, knew he's the funniest guy in the world. Sorry, Conan. But, he is just a force.
Yeah.
Dennis Miller you're talking about now. You're not making it clear. You said he worked on the Dennis Miller Show.
I thought it was understood. I thought it was understood.
Yeah, I thought so
you were
too.
talking about Dennis Miller.
I like Dennis, but come on.
Dennis is funny too.
Hang there.
Norm is unbelievable. He's a...
So you knew him as a writer.
And I knew he had just worked, he got a job as a writer on Saturday Night Live. So in a pinch, I went up there. I thought he would do it. And I knew, usually you work with the stand-up to hone a set. But with Norm, I wasn't worried at all. I knew that afternoon he would come on the air and kill. And he did. He annihilated, and he did a bit about buying a dog, which was so funny. And that was the first time he did our show, and that was 28 years ago.
Right. And then he came on many times after that, and I've been thinking about what is it that made this guy so insanely different from everyone else? And I had this recollection that, Andy, you said something once, which was, and I always remembered it. It was after a Norm segment, and Norm had annihilated. He had done really well, as he always did. And you said to me, that guy doesn't care in a way that frightens me. And what you meant was he had this seeming like indifference about whether the crowd liked it or not. He was going to do what he was going to do. And he was so ballsy that you found it kind of scary. And I knew exactly what you were talking about. It was always a high wire act. And one of the things I remember most about Norm is I would start laughing the minute he came out of the curtain. So I'd say, ladies and gentlemen, Norm Macdonald. And he would come out, and he had this look in his eye, this glint in his eye, and I was laughing before he said anything.
Yeah.
And I will attest, and you will back me up on this. Both of you can back me up on this. I always wanted to be a host who helped the guest as much as I could.
It's called host.
Yeah. Well, but what I would do is, sometimes I'd be hearing something that wasn't that funny, but I learned, how to be a generous laugher for people if it would help.
Right.
I have always said to people, if you want to really see me laugh, and this is long before Norm passed, if you really want to see what it looks like when I am laughing, watch a Norm Macdonald segment, because I have my hands on my belly, which I think might be my tell. Like I put my hands on my stomach, and I would have my hands on my stomach sometimes just as Norm is coming out around the curtain, and I see that crazy look in his eye and that insane grin that he had with those sort of like round apple cheeks.
He's like a mischievous kid.
He was a mischievous kid, and he was out to cause trouble. And he's coming around the bend, and his eye would catch me, and he'd always look a little surprised to see me, even though I had just introduced him.
Of course. And you'd just seen him 5 minutes before.
I had just seen him 5 minutes before. But oh my God. And I think there was this, people get, cynical about show business, and rightfully they think, well, it's all set up or it's all been contrived. And sometimes it has been. But with that guy, when you look at any of these clips, you're watching us be just as stunned as the audience is, because we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think, well, one of the things to me, like Norm was so Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like deeply, deeply polite, deeply, deeply concerned with the person that he's talking to. An audience, not so much, but a person that he's talking to, because even like the famous clip of like, that, and it's, and it's arguably one of the biggest things circulating now about Norm is when he was on with Courtney Thorne-Smith and was making fun of Carrot Top. But he wasn't making fun of Courtney Thorne-Smith.
Right.
He was having fun with her, but he still was kind of taking care of her in a way and having fun with you.
Yeah.
So I think he had this like sort of and I mean, I showed, my sister texted me the day after he died, and she said, "Do you remember I was at the show, I was maybe 18 years old, and I was in your office. You weren't there. You were rehearsing or meeting or something. And Norm Macdonald walked in, and I introduced myself, and he sat down and talked to me for an hour and asked me questions about myself and, and made me laugh a lot." And she said, "Nobody in your business has done that before or since."
Right.
And that was one aspect of Norm, was like an incredibly kind, considerate listener. But then there's also this stripe of Norm that is a destroyer. And it's not a coincidence that when we talk about him, he annihilated, he killed, he destroyed.
Yeah.
And what Norm was drawn to touch points that you're not supposed to touch.
Yep.
And Norm would not only touch them, he would dry hump them.
Yeah.
He would just and so in a talk show context, you have this guy for whom nothing is sacred.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a little bit like you don't sense aggression from him except when you get to like hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. Or something that's, phoniness.
Yeah.
And he was also too not afraid publicly or in private or something to let people that he felt were not funny, who were being paid to be funny, let them know he didn't think they were funny.
Yeah.
And that's because he had so much genius.
He took it comedy very seriously.